The race is on to restore electricity to Japan's stricken Fukushima nuclear facility so workers can get the reactor cooling systems back online. Japan has also increased the severity level of the accident to level 5 out of 7, meaning the consequences reach wider than the power plant's immediate vicinity. It's been a week now since the country was rocked by its worst ever post-war disaster that's left thousands of people dead or missing. RT's Ivor Bennett has more.
Right now, they're still trying to reconnect power to the site so they can get those cooling systems up and running and bring the temperature down inside the reactors. That seems like the only way they're now going to prevent what could be a real nuclear disaster. They're now focusing on reactor number 2 because this morning they actually saw smoke rising from the reactor. They don't know what the cause was of that. They don't think it was an explosion because that wasn't heard. Clearly the temperature inside is very hot. So what they've already managed to do was to lay a power cable from the main grid, a kilometre-long cable, to try and restore power, but they haven't managed to connect that up yet. The radiation there is very high still, and also the outer casing of the reactor, the containment vessel, was badly damaged in the explosion that happened earlier this week. Now, in the meantime, they are trying everything they can to try and keep the temperature down, to try and cool the reactors there. The first 4 that actually had explosions since the earthquake. For example, yesterday at reactor number 3, they doused it in 64 tons of water from helicopters from above and water cannons from below. In the early hours of this morning, the Tokyo Fire Department, they sent 30 of their fire engines. So they're throwing everything they've got at this. The head of the UN nuclear watchdog, the International Atomic Energy Agency, who's in Tokyo right now meeting with the Japanese Prime Minister, he came out and said that to prevent this turning into a full-scale nuclear disaster, they're going to have to cooperate with international help. According to the Japanese Nuclear and Industrial Safety Agency, what they recorded this morning, a kilometre away from the site, was 279.4 microsieverts per hour, down from last night's reading of 292.2. It's not a significant drop, but it is a drop. So clearly the pouring on water has helped in some degree, but they clearly need to do more. Now, since then, the government spokesman, Mr. Edano, who is the chief cabinet secretary, has come out and said that although there are very high radiation readings in some places, he says, and it doesn't pose a direct negative effect to one's health because in these places it's not coming into direct human contact. However, a number of countries actually don't believe this, and what they're doing is actually warning their citizens not to go within 50 kilometers off Fukushima nuclear power plant, whereas the Japanese government has imposed an exclusion zone of 20 kilometers, telling residents within 30 to stay away. Now, yesterday I went up the coast a little bit from Tokyo up the east coast towards Fukushima with a Geiger counter to see what residents thought.
This is the town of Owarai, around halfway between Tokyo and Fukushima. I'm still 150 kilometers south of the nuclear power plant, but already the radiation levels here are over double that of those in Tokyo. The Geiger counter I've got just started beeping wildly and shot up to 0.5 microsieverts per hour. It's not harmful to one's health, especially just yet, but it is certainly a concern, so much so that the army has started to hand out these face masks here that people are wearing.
We're very afraid of the radiation, but we can't do very much about it. All we can do is follow the media and trust what the government is saying.
The tsunami did actually come in this far inland, but the town escaped most of the damage. However, since the earthquake, they've been without drinking water here, and the residents have to come and fill up what water they need from points like this in the town that have been set up by the army. Further up the coast, it's a similar story. We've been travelling along this road for the last 10, 15 kilometres, looking for a place to have lunch, but none of the restaurants are open.
It will take another week until we can open. We have electricity, but we can't do anything without water.
This is the start of Japan's ravaged east coast. Marine life, other debris just lie strewn all over the place here. A wall's collapsed over here, houses have fallen down. Such was the force of the tsunami. Now, this is also the point where we're going to turn back because the Geiger counter is reading the highest it has done all day, 1.04 microsieverts per hour.
My fear is that I won't be able to live here anymore, and this is my home. Obviously, I fear for my health with the radiation, but it's not just about that. I'm afraid I won't be able to come back here.
We're only around 120 kilometers south of Fukushima power plant now. If the wind blows this way, and even worse, if the rain comes, then the radiation will sure to arrive too in force.